Hello and welcome to the next edition of my podcast. Today I am absolutely delighted to be joined by former Celtic and Wigan defender Gary Caldwell, who won the FA Cup with the Latics in 2013 as a player before managing the club to a League One title win in the 2015-16 campaign. Gary, you was at the club for over 6 years as a player and a manager. What do you make of the current situation that has happened at the Daily Stadium?
I think it's heartbreaking for everyone who has a connection to the football club, and so sad to see it. It's somewhere that I've went back to since I finished playing and managing obviously the club, and every time I go back, the supporters, the staff, the people always welcoming, and a really special football club for me and my family. My kids still love the football club, so it's really sad to see where the club is at the moment.
Was you surprised when you heard the news?
Very surprised, yeah, because I still keep in touch with David Sharp, Jonathan Jackson, people who are connected to the club, or David obviously was recently, and had no inclination that the club was in a bad position. Had went to a few games this season and seen the club go on that magnificent run that was going to keep them in the Championship. So all seemed well at the football club, and I actually just turned up at. I was playing golf, and one of the guys I was playing golf with had heard it on the radio, and I was like, that can't be true, from what I had heard, and then obviously seen in the days after, just how serious a situation it was, and how, like I said, sad it is for the football club and the people of Wigan more than anyone.
It's been really sad to see. Have you been keeping up to date with everything that's happened?
Yeah, I have. I've obviously seen, what the fans have done, how passionate they've been. And I think, in my time at the club in the Premier League, we always got a bit of stick for obviously not having fans in big numbers. But I think what Wigan and the Wigan people have proved is you don't need big numbers to be great fans. And recently the supporters have really rallied together and showed that they have fantastic supporters at the football club who really care deeply about the club, and they're doing everything they can to try and keep the club as it is, and hopefully kind of recover from this and try and grow again and become the great club that it was in recent history.
Obviously, you mentioned the supporters club and their efforts there. The supporters, what they've done, they've raised over £650,000 in the midst of a pandemic. Does this surprise you at all, considering your relationship with the supporters and your time at the club?
No, it doesn't. Like I said, people who don't know the club, who are outside the club, it's easy to have a go at them in terms of the numbers that we get going to home games and travelling. But when you play for the football club, and I've been fortunate to manage the football club as well, you understand, what the club means to the local community, to the people of Wigan, and to the supporters who go to the stadium and care about the club. And so that didn't surprise me, that the supporters managed to kind of generate that publicity and get that finance into the football club and try and save it.
I've noticed with a lot of your answers, you keep on using the term "we." Do you class yourself as a supporter of the club?
Yeah, I do. I think it was the longest time I spent at any football club, and I have a great affection to the football club as obviously a player, academy coach, and then manager. So still have so many friends at the football club, so many people I still keep in touch with, who we kind of talk about our past and what we did at the football club and how special a club it is. And like I said, I've been back to games last season with my little boy. I was at the Man City game when Will Grigg scored that fantastic FA Cup night, and with my little boy as well. So it is a special club for me, and I will always say we when talking about Wigan because of the time that I spent there.
Are you hopeful that Wigan will survive this really dark time?
Yeah, I hope they will. I think they will, but it's obviously, it's very difficult. It's in other people's hands. that, like I said, the supporters have done everything they can to try and help the club, and good people are in the club that are trying to do things to help it as well. So hopefully the club can get out of this, and like I said, it will be a difficult period for the football club, but hopefully it gets that opportunity to grow again and rebuild, and try and get the club back up to where it was in the recent years.
In the administration process, 75 members of staff have lost their jobs, some which you'll know from your time at the club. How does this make you feel?
Again, really sad. I feel for them. I know what it's like to lose your job. From Wigan, I was there once when I was manager and lost my job, and it was the worst day in my career. And these people are losing their jobs and with nowhere else to go. And it's difficult time enough with obviously a pandemic and uncertainty with everything in the world. So for these people to lose their job out with their control because, you know, somebody has ran the club badly and decided to put it in administration is shocking. And like you said, I know some of these people and I feel for them because it's a really difficult time for them. And I know everyone who worked at the club, not just on the football side, but behind the scenes, it was obviously a job to them, but everyone cared about the football club when I was there as the manager and as a player, and everyone, you know, wanted to be a part of the football club. So it's not just the financial loss to them, it's also the emotional connection that they had to the football club that's extremely sad.
It's been a really difficult time for all the fans, but to look back on happier times, reflecting back on your time with Wigan Athletic, what is your standout moment you'll never forget?
I would say the day we won the League One, the stadium was full. The atmosphere was incredible. We obviously lost the game, which was always disappointing, but to see so many people so happy and the work that we put in over the course of the season to win that league was difficult. We had to rebuild a squad. We went through periods in the season when, you know, it was difficult and we had to stick together, not just as a team but as a football club. So that day when everyone could come and celebrate and seeing the supporters, seeing the players, the families on the pitch at the end of the game with the trophy was by far my kind of standout moment at Wigan Athletic.
Would you rank that higher than the FA Cup win?
Yeah, for me, because I was the manager, the FA Cup win was, for the club, was probably the biggest moment in the club's history. But I think when I became the manager, I wouldn't say the pressure, but you can feel the burden, the expectation that you want to do well for the supporters, you want to do well for the players, everyone that works for the football club. You have a real kind of weight on your shoulders to deliver success. And that season, we had a lot of pressure on us because we had went down. We were very much expected to go up, and the pressure was really on. So to deliver under that pressure and get the club back up to the Championship, I was really happy that I could be a part of that and help the club achieve that.
Did you enjoy your time more as a player or a manager?
That's a very good question. I think in the early years as a player, I loved it. The later years when I became, my injuries and that took their toll, was I wouldn't say I lost my love of football, but it became painful, to be honest. It became really difficult. I knew I wasn't at my best. Physically, I was struggling to train, to recover, and to maintain the fitness to allow myself to play on a Saturday. So the latter years became difficult. I was getting injections to train, injections to play, and it was almost like pain going in to work and get through it and just to try and contribute. So I have kind of two spells that I look at the club. Without doubt, I think the season would have been 2012, if I'm right. That last run that we had was without doubt the highlight of my footballing career in terms of The team were outstanding. We changed to a 3-4-3. We beat Liverpool. We beat Man United. We should have beat Chelsea away. We lost a goal late in the game. Who else? We beat Arsenal away. We beat Newcastle, who were going for the Champions League. That was the highlight in a football sense. But after that, once the injuries came, then it was difficult. But as a manager, I loved every single moment of it. It was a privilege to manage the football club. I was very young. I was fortunate that I had fantastic people round about me on the football side, fantastic people at the football club, that in a time of, I say crisis, obviously now the club is in serious crisis, but back then we dropped to League One, which felt like a big thing for the football club, and the whole club stuck together as it always does, and managed to bring success and get us back up. So it's kind of, I would probably say as a manager, I enjoyed it more because of what the club meant to me, and the responsibility that I had to deliver success for the supporters.
How do you reflect on your entire time managing Wigan? Would you do anything differently?
I think you'd always do things differently. I think that's, hindsight's a magnificent thing in life and in football. But I think we had the club going in the right direction. I think we were trying to build something. We had to deliver success in that first season, which, like I said, was a lot of pressure, and we did. And then the next season, we understood as a club, or we had discussed as a club, that it wasn't just going to be, perfect. It wasn't going to be easy. We were going to need to build. We were going to need to understand the league. And I felt like we were starting to do that as a team, as a group of players, albeit we weren't in a position in the league that we wanted to be. But it was early days, and we were still very much in touch and distance of mid-table. And as you've seen this year, latterly in the season, the club went on a fantastic run and got up to mid-table from a position of difficulty down the bottom of the league. So I think you always learn from every moment that you have in football, especially. You learn. But I think we were on the right track, and I think having spoke to people that were working at the time and at the club, then I think that other people agree with that as well.
Do you think that you deserve more time to establish yourself in the Championship, because it is quite a brutal and unforgiving league, as Paul Cook used to say?
It is brutal, yeah, and I think every manager, when they lose their job, would say, they deserve more time, and that is, one thing that you don't get as a manager, and I've learned that very quickly, that even after getting success, you don't get that time to build on that. So it's something that I've learned quickly, and understand that it's part of the job. I have no animosity to anyone at the football club. I still keep in touch with the people that ultimately sacked me, and still get on really well with those people. I understand it is a part and parcel of football and part of the job. So I've no hard feelings for anyone at the football club.
As a manager, do you believe the pressures that are on a manager to perform without the risk of getting sacked after a few bad results, do you think this needs to kind of change? Because obviously we saw at Wigan last season that Paul Cook went on a really bad losing streak, and he was given faith by the owners. And then obviously we saw that amazing turn of form from 2020 onwards, with a little bit of a gap in between because of COVID.
Yeah, without a doubt. Look, I go back to my playing days with Roberto Martinez. We went 8-9 games once without winning losing 8 or 9 games in a row. And, should Dave Whelan have sacked him then? It's in football, you need support and you need time when you want to try and build a football club, try and achieve something. And every manager will tell you that there's going to become a point where, results don't go your way, or, injuries within the squad, or different things can happen at the football club where you need the support of the football club at that moment. And I think, like I said, every manager needs that and needs to come through that moment. And if, you don't come through it, then ultimately you'll lose your job. But as you mentioned there with Paul Cook, he did come through that moment. He got the support of the football club, and then he went on to achieve, a brilliant run of form that kept the team in the league comfortably. So it's every manager's wish, but modern day football, you don't get it. You understand that you have to get results fast, but it's a very difficult thing to do, and lots of different factors go into, winning a game of football, and it ultimately needs to be bigger than just the manager or just one or two people. It has to be a collective responsibility to help build the environment and the culture that you want to create, winning and success to be a long-term thing rather than just a short-term vision.
During your time as manager, one of the things that impressed me the most about you was your recruitment. Over the years, you made some great signings, which ultimately helped save the club and help them move on for a profit. Dan Burn, Will Grigg, to name a few. Who were your favourite signings that you made while at the club?
Well, first of all, it wasn't just me that made them. I've said a few times that people that worked with me, I had fantastic staff. I think Graham Barrow deserves a lot of credit for recruitment. He was, heavily involved with that. And Malcolm Crosby, who I brought in as chief scout, was also brilliant at spotting a player, had fantastic contacts in the game. We also were starting to build a recruitment team behind the scenes, where it was more analysis, more stats driven to try and drive that process. So it wasn't me picking the players. It was a team behind myself that put recommendations forward, and we then, along with the chairman David Sharp and Jonathan Jackson, tried to put the deal together and make it happen financially for the football club. And I think what also kind of goes under the radar is we had a lot of money in League One, and in the Championship, our wage structure was excellent at that time. Although we had a lot of money, I didn't feel we overspent. We had maybe one or two players where we probably, made mistakes and gave them too much money, but that happens probably at every football club. But I felt like the players that we did sign, they were on contracts that were, good for the league. Obviously, we had the money to give them, but we didn't pay players in the Championship. And we put a squad together that I felt not only had the chance to compete, but also had growth in it. It had the potential for player sales. It had the potential for people to improve and make the club money, and then reinvest that money. And it was something we spoke about all the time, myself, Graham, Jonathan and David Sharp, of, how do we create revenue for the football club, finance for the football club. And Yannick Wilshoot was one that, we said when we signed him, we paid £1 million for him in the end, but we understood that if we work with this guy, if we coach this guy, he is a player that's going to leave this club and generate money for the football club. And I think they sold him for £6 million. So in the space of a year, to generate that amount of money for the football club is what actually the club needs now in terms of moving forward. They have to be self-sufficient, that the money isn't going to come from outside. We're not going to have a Dave Whelan anymore that's just going to fund the football club. The football club has to become self-sufficient, and to do that you need very good recruitment, and you also need good coaches at the football club who are going to work and develop players and make players better. And I think we did that. The names you mentioned, there's other players there that haven't moved on but have provided great service to the football club, and that was the one area I think we did really well, was recruitment.
Obviously, it's really important now that the club do find a new owner and a buyer. There's been a lot of claims from football fans outside of Wigan that the club was living beyond the means. As someone who's quite close to the finances and the transfers, do you believe that this is the case?
Well, I can only speak for when I was at the football club, and I always treated, the football club's money like it was my own. It was important that we didn't overspend. If there was a player there that was, becoming too expensive, then we had to back away, because ultimately you're working to a plan. You're working with people at the football club. It's not just can we get the best player. It's can we work within a structure that allows the football club to be self-sufficient, that we sign good players, we develop them, we sell them, and we reinvest that in the football club at the right time. So when I was at the club, granted, in that first season we had a lot of money because we still had parachute payments. But after that, even in the Championship, we didn't overspend. We made really good signings. We got Nick Powell on a free transfer. We got Dan Burn on a free transfer, and their wages weren't ridiculous. And obviously Dan left. Nick Powell could have left at numerous moments for a lot of money. So our recruitment was very good, but it was based on the finances within the football club.
It's really interesting to hear and your side, and I think a lot of fans have been asking what's your next step now in management, what you planning to do next.
I've set up my own one-to-one coaching at the minute, where I'm helping young players, helping players who are out of contract to get contracts. And I'm really enjoying that. What I miss the most is when I'm out of football is working with players, is coaching, is developing the player and the person and helping people to improve. So that's why I decided to set something up on my own. But I'm always keen to get back into football. I've applied for some academy jobs that I just missed out on. And I'm also keen to get into coaching or an assistant manager or a manager again. At the right club when the right opportunity comes up.
How important is it to find the right club and right opportunity?
Very important, as I know from, I made a big mistake in going to Chesterfield, but I learned, quickly after that, you have to really kind of do your due diligence on the club. I was fortunate at Wigan when I got the job. I knew the club, I understood everything within the football club, how it worked. So that made the job a little bit easier. But when you're going into a new club, you have to work that out really quickly. At Chesterfield, it was a club that was on the way down and has continued to go down for the years after myself. Partick Thistle was different. That was a great club in terms of the way it was run, the people that were running it. And then midway through my time there, that changed for about 2 or 3 months. And in that period, I lost my job. So there's a lot of different circumstances that lead to you either being successful or being unsuccessful in football that are a little bit out with your control. But like I said, my biggest asset, I feel, is working with players, developing players and people, creating the right culture within a football club. And that takes time to really see that kind of come off and that success happen. So it's important that my next job is the right opportunity and the right club for me.
Would you consider returning to Wigan Athletic one day?
Pardon?
Would you consider returning to Wigan one day?
Yeah, I would always consider going back to Wigan and helping the football club in whatever capacity they felt I could help. Like I said, when I finished playing, I went into the academy. They felt I could help, the academy players, but also start my coaching journey. And then I was, fortunate and privileged to get the opportunity to manage the football club at a time that was really difficult and had relative success in that period. But if ever the football club, needed my help in any capacity, then I'd always consider going back because of what the club means to me, to myself and my family.
Before administration happened, I know you've watched the Wigan side before this happened a few times. Could you have seen the Wigan Athletic squad, which once were challenging for a playoff place, if this didn't happen in an alternative universe?
Yeah, I think you always can. I think the Championship is a league that it's a very difficult league, but it's also a league that if you get the right group of players and you create momentum and you build over season after season. I think if you look at Brentford, the model that they use, how they buy and sell players, how they reinvest into the club, how they have built a philosophy, a playing style that doesn't change manager on manager, year on year, then that's the way for me. You aren't just going to go through the Championship unless you have a lot of money in one season. You have to build something and year on year get that improvement. So if, given time, Paul Cook and the team that he was kind of developing, then the opportunity might have come because that's what the league sometimes allows that one team to kind of come with a run that doesn't have the finances maybe, but has built a playing philosophy and a style that allows them to be successful.
That's a great answer. And one player who's been instrumental throughout this over the last few years and the last few weeks for his leadership has been Samy Morsy, a player you signed for Wigan. What do you make of Samy's actions both on and off the field during these times?
I think he's been brilliant. Really proud of him for what he's done, how he's handled himself, and all his time at the club. He's a player actually that I had to fight really hard to try and sign. It was in the January window. We obviously spent a lot of money on Yannick, but he was in a way more important because we didn't have a defensive midfield player at the club that could really do what Sam does. And I wanted to have the opportunity to be tactically flexible and play four at the back more than we had in the first part of the season. And he came in and allowed us to do that. I remember Sheffield United away, where we played 4-3-3, and he dropped into the back to make it a back three at times, and just gave us that tactical flexibility from January to the end of the season that made us a really difficult team to play against. And delighted with how he's kept going at the club, and like you said, now he's captain and leading in the right way, and leading in a way that, you know, makes me proud as a Wigan Athletic supporter.
As a former captain, how have you managed the situation that's been going on?
Yeah, I think the way he has, I think you need to, as a captain, you always need to stand strong for your teammates, for the football club, and you need to show leadership qualities, which he has done, and he's led by example. He's, you know, been the first out there. He's been the one that's talking. He's been the one that's standing up, and I'm sure talking to his teammates as well and saying, this is what, you know, we're doing and this is what we're standing for. So I think as a captain or as any leader, you have to make decisions. You have to put your head above the parapet, and he has done that in all his time at Wigan.
Throughout this process, the EFL's owners and directors test has been at the forefront of debate. What do you think of the owners and directors test and its effectiveness in assessing an owner?
I think it's not fit for purpose. I think, you know, Wigan, obviously, they've failed them badly. Charlton recently, another example. I think they really need to look at it, you know, and what it does strongly to make sure that, you know, no club is in this position again, because there has to be flaws in their system for this to happen.
Do you think football is financially sustainable across the divisions in England?
Yeah, I think it is, but we spoke a lot about, you know, being self-sustaining, and that's, every football club has their own idea of what that looks like. And, you know, it's a big thing I spoke about to loads of people in football about, you have to have the philosophy of the football club has to go right through the football club. It can't just be the managers. It can't just be the owners. It can't just be the chief exec. It has to go right through the football club. And as long as everyone's on the same page of that, and the supporters for that matter, they have to know what direction the football club is going in. Because if the supporters want one thing and the owners want another and the manager wants another, then the club isn't joined up in the right way, and that is ultimately going to lead to cracks in terms of the manager getting sacked or the fans going against the owner. So the club has to be aligned in everything that it wants to achieve, and if it is, like I mentioned at Brentford there, then that is how you achieve success in football. If it isn't, then there'll be cracks and there'll be problems along the way that won't help the football club, that will just create negativity within the football club, that ultimately makes it more difficult successful. So for me, everything has to be aligned. Everyone has to know what the role is. Everyone has to buy into a philosophy that they all agree with, and they want to kind of help. Because I think back to when I got the job, there was positivity. There was a belief that, you know, we could build something. It was Wigan people. I had myself, Graham Barrow, Joe Parkinson, Pete Atherton, Mike Pollitt. Gaz Piper, Russ Hitchens, all people who'd played for or been brought up in Wigan. Even though like Kath, my secretary, brought up in Wigan, a Wigan supporter, and it was people who cared about the football club. And everyone that season bought into what we were trying to do. Jonathan Jackson, David Sharp, who was the chairman, the supporters believed in, myself and David, young people who cared about the football club that was going to drive it forward. And because of that, we got success, not because of one person, not because of me, or not because of David Sharp, or not because of Will Grigg, because everyone played their role and played it well and allowed the club to be successful. And that's what, for me, any football club has to be to be successful.
That's a fascinating answer, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. It's been great to hear some of your stories of Wigan Athletic and some of your thoughts about the footballing world and how it's regulated. To lighten the mood, and kind of, it's been quite hard hitting this interview. What is your most funny memory of working at Wigan Athletic as either a player or a manager?
Well, that's quite easy. I actually tell my kids this story all the time. We were going to a Player of the Year do one night at the stadium, and we used to train later on so we could get changed and go to the stadium. So we were at Christopher Park, and we all had our suits hung up after training. And I was in a car school with me, Sean, and Ben Watson. And I was always first ready, waiting on they two. They were always doing their hair and trying to look nice, but I was always ready to go. And for some reason, they were ready first, which I thought was a little bit strange, but they were saying, come on, hurry up, we need to go. So I thought, right, I'll hurry up. So I went and got my suit trousers out. And as I pulled my suit trousers on, the trouser came right up to my knee. Sean had swapped Albert Crusat's trousers with my trousers, and they came right up to my knee, which the whole change room was found hilarious. So, but that was the change room I was in, and even just thinking back to the car school with me, Sean and Ben, some of the memories, the laughs that we had were incredible and special times.
It's really funny you say Albert Crusat as well, because I think he was about 5'2", probably small, maybe even smaller, and you're quite a strong, tall defender. So it must have been like some really tight shorts for you rather than pants.
They were, and I think Sean done it. I think because he's the only player he's ever played with that he's actually smaller than him, so he was delighted to have somebody in the change room smaller. But we were always having a laugh. Scott Carson used to hang my clothes up. I think my clothes are all right, but for some reason Scott used to always have a go at them and hang my clothes up in the change room or put them on mannequins and put them out in the training pit. We just used to have a great laugh. Good people, and like I said, we're playing at a football club, and it's really important. But those moments in the change room, on the bus, in hotels are really special moments that stick with you forever. Thank
you so much for this interview, Gary. It's been great. It's been really great, and it's nice to hear someone tell stories as well, because the fans would have never known that you'd have worn Albert Crusat's pants to a Christmas do, or before a Christmas do. Yeah. But I wish you all the best in your next step of your career and with your one-to-one coaching. Is there a way where people can look at your one-to-one coaching?
Yeah, I'm just starting to get my website put together. It's called 5 Star Football Development, so that website should hopefully be running soon. And I've been coaching some, like I said, local players who are looking for clubs, but I'm hopefully going to start coaching younger players and academy players as well, because I really believe in development of players and people, and I enjoy passing on my knowledge and helping young people to be the best that they can be. Yeah, it's really excellent, and I'm looking forward to see that next venture. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for Gary for being a guest, and let's hope we get some positive news soon about Wigan Athletic.